This is Chicago. At the dawn of the 21st century, Chicago's media was dominated by a handful of major corporations. But a resistance movement arose to free Chicago's media from their clutches. One player in this movement is the Chicago Independent Media Center and its TV show, Chicago Independent Television. The Independent Media Center is a worldwide network of grassroots correspondents committed to using the tools of the media for promoting social and economic justice. You are watching this month's dispatch from the Chicago Independent Media Center.
Welcome to Chicago Independent Television, a collection of progressive video reports by grassroots media workers produced free from corporate, commercial, support, or influence. I'm your host, Sharon Kelly. In this episode, we'll join a Chicago group in Honduras monitoring a political assassination, and we'll learn more about this mandatory minimum jail sentences in Illinois. We'll also hear from Chicago activist Kathy Kelly at an anti-drone protest in Virginia, and we'll see a creative protest against the oil extraction process known as fracking. Stay with us.
Here at Exxon, we hate your children. We all know the climate crisis will rip their world apart, but we don't care, because it's making us rich. That's right. Every year, Congress gives the fossil fuel industry over $10 billion in subsidies. That's your tax dollars lining our pockets. Making a fortune destroying your kids' future? At Exxon, that's what we call good business. ExxonHatesYourChildren.com.
Mr. Bishop, I want to use this picture on the front page of our next issue.
Oh, come now, Nancy. We can't print a picture like that. Paper is read by people all over the city. Just think what a picture like that would do to the reputation of our newspaper.
I don't think we should hide things just because they're unpleasant. How do we stop things like this if we don't let the people know they're happening?
Chicago Independent Television is not brought to you by Coca-Cola, whose logo is stained red by the blood of murdered Colombian labor union organizers. Learn more at killercoke.org. Coke, the drink of the death squads.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. The day before a recent national elections in Honduras, two political electors from a poor peasant district were killed in a shooting. A Chicago delegation was in Honduras during the elections and produced a short film.
En Honduras, un día antes de las elecciones del 24 de noviembre del 2013, dos miembros de la cooperativa El Carbón de Cantarranas, ubicado en las afueras de Tegucigalpa, afiliados a la Central Nacional de Trabajadores del Campo y miembros del Partido Libre, fueron brutalmente asesinados por sicarios encapuchados. El suceso ocurrió entre las 7:30 y las 8 p.m. Las dos víctimas estaban de regreso de un entrenamiento electoral. La mujer asesinada se llamaba María Amparo Pineda Duarte y era presidenta de la cooperativa. Y el hombre fallecido se llamaba Juan Ramón Maradiaga, miembro activo y fiscal de la cooperativa.
Lo van a grabar en la radio a la vez mientras lo relata, ¿está bien?
Es su hijo.
Sí, yo sé. Hola. Está bien. Exactamente, estoy aquí en el mero sitio donde pasó el incidente anoche, como a las 7:50 de la noche. Estamos en un camino de tierra que va entre Cantarranas y el lugar del carbón. Estamos aquí en los cerros con toda la familia de la compañera fallecida. Hay vidrio aquí
Mientras un grupo de observadores de derechos humanos documentaba este suceso lamentable e insólito, la policía militar apareció sorpresivamente, todos bien armados e incluso uno de ellos encapuchado y con aspecto bastante intimidante, como si fuera un sicario.
Venía regresando de una capacitación para las mesas electorales porque iba a ser uno de los integrantes de la mesa por el Partido Libertario y Refundación. Tal vez le puedo pasar con algunos de los compañeros aquí para comentar más sobre la vida de ella, ya que aquí estamos con varios de los compañeros, tanto de lucha de ella como de la familia de ella. Le paso primero con compañero.
Aquí tengo a Franklin.
¿Se pueden retirar un poquito? Que vamos a...
Sí,
por favor.
Sí.
Si gustan, pueden pasarse para...
Exactamente, sí, son dos compañeros. Uno trabajamos con la familia de la compañera de la vida. Tiene una hija, el otro compañero falleció antes de ella y como a las 7:50 de la noche iba llegando a esta y el otro lado hay un monte con unos árboles y aparentemente en esos árboles estaban escondidos. El único sobreviviente fue el hijo de
I'm Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for president, and you're watching Chicago Independent Television.
Chicago Independent Television is not brought to you by Blackwater, a worldwide leader in security and murder. Learn more at blackwaterbook.com. Blackwater, we kill innocent Iraqis so that you can feel more secure.
This is Dan Lin from the Illinois chapter of ILNorml, and you're watching Chicago Independent Television.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. We'll learn more about the policy of mandatory minimum jail sentence in Illinois in this segment.
The uniforms, the handcuffs, the tasers, the food, the bed sheets, like every single thing that goes into prisons there's companies that produce those that are making money off of. The more people there are in prison, the more supplies they have to make, the more money they make. And the prison industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And some, particularly private prisons, have written into their contract that these prisons must be full, or must be a certain percent full, in order for the contract to be met. So then the state has a responsibility to fill those prison beds. In the media, we're seeing a lot of violence in Chicago, and it's not necessarily reflective of people's realities. But to look tough on crime, ROM is proposing SB 1342, which will impose new mandatory minimums on gun charges, so that no matter what the circumstances of someone's arrest, that they will get a predetermined amount of time in prison.
That if you're somebody who is a first-time offender with a gun illegally purchased or had in your presence, no matter whether the gun is actually loaded or unloaded, then you have a 1-year mandatory sentence. You have to spend at least 85% of that time incarcerated. No judicial discretion. If you are somebody who already has a felony, whether that felony involves guns or anything else, then you have an automatic 3-year mandatory sentence.
Some of our members have been incarcerated. My family members have been incarcerated. It's real. And it touches us and it impacts our communities in real ways. What we need is more investment in our schools. We need more investment in our communities. We need to support public after-school programs. We need to support restorative justice, more community justice in our neighborhoods. What we don't need is more incarceration.
Hundreds of millions of dollars are going to be spent if this bill passes in order to further incarcerate our friends and neighbors, while we're saying that we can't find $3 million to save our mental health clinics.
And everybody knows this doesn't work. People in California, there was an editorial recently in the Los Angeles Times where they're talking about how these programs, these mandatory minimum programs, simply don't work at all. They've gone down that road. They've got overcrowded prisons. They can't possibly afford to do what needs to be done in the prison, so they've actually had a federal takeover, and they've got a real mess on their hands. We don't need that mess in Illinois.
Bottom line is that we want him to understand that we're really not, as community members, in support of more incarceration.
Those billboards are everywhere. We're not building a new Chicago. We're trying to save the one we already have.
Okay, this is Dave Kraft, Director of Nuclear Energy Information Service. You're watching Chicago Independent Television.
In 1914, Woodrow Wilson signed the bill that created the Fed. He thought it was one of the worst days of his life, and he had destroyed the country. He hadn't destroyed the country, he destroyed the world. Put an end to this, now!
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. In November 2013, anti-war activists protest CIA headquarters in Virginia over the CIA's connections to the use of robot drone in war zones. DC Indie Media produced a short film of the protest. Of an interview with noted Chicago activist Kathy Kelly.
Can you please tell us your name, please?
My name is Kathy Kelly.
And your organization?
I'm a co-coordinator of Voices for Creative Nonviolence.
And we're in front of the CIA headquarters at Langley, Virginia, here at a drone protest. Can you please tell me what you hope to accomplish today?
I think it's a good thing for people from Pax Christi and other friends to gather in front of this particular spot and to make it known that we're aware that the intelligence that they're collecting is so faulty as to be lethal and dangerous for innocent civilians who've meant us no harm, particularly with regard to the drone surveillance. I'm going to be going to Afghanistan tomorrow, and in previous times there, people in Afghanistan have made it clear that they feel constantly at risk, especially beyond Kabul, because they can be mistaken for high-value targets. And the arrogance of the usage of drones has really been, I think, maybe best articulated by General McChrystal, who formerly was in charge of the International Security Assistance Forces in Afghanistan. And it was General McChrystal who said the arrogance of drone usage actually jeopardizes security of people in the United States. Now, how could that be? Well, people feel rage, and they feel intense anger. Now, I want to tell this group a story about a man from Khaisor in North Waziristan who described to me what it was like to be a survivor of a drone hit in his village of 500 people with no roads leading up to the village, so isolated. And, you know, the code in their area is that if somebody knocks on the door, you give them something to eat. I mean, where else are they going to go in the middle of what we would say the middle of nowhere? And when I asked him, suppose good-hearted people from my country wanted to sit down with people from your country and just talk about these collective problems of fear and insecurity. Would people from your village talk to the people from my country? And he looked at me like I was off my rocker. And then he said, Madame, who would be so crazy as to not to want the peace? Of course we would talk with you. And then he added, just please, you leave your weapons aside. Well, that's maybe the nugget. Just please, we leave our weapons aside. Our weaponized drones, our statistics that show that we have more weapons than the next 18 countries combined, our feeding of weapons to the neighboring states. Even Al-Qaeda groups are being able to get money for weapons because of the United States payments to use roadways in Afghanistan. I mean, the CIA knows about all of this that we maybe are just scratching the surface of through our more paltry means of research. But I think the CIA can't know. They will never know, using drone surveillance, what it's like for a mother to go to the cemetery carrying in her arms the bundle that was her child.
Yesterday that actually happened, or the day before, the United States attacked a wedding party in Yemen, and reports say that 17 people were killed. And the government of Yemen stated that none of those folks were combatants, enemy combatants. Did you hear about that?
I did, and I was immediately reminded of a friend. He's an emergency medical responder, EMT, and he talked about having gone to, as a first responder, a similar site, and he couldn't find any survivors. He found many scarves and little pairs of children's shoes, and he said, you know, it affects you for a lifetime, and it makes you wonder, do people in the United States believe that the Afghan people, in this instance, are really human beings?
Did you want to tell us a little bit about what your organization does, how you are educating and telling other folks in the world about the drone projects and the move to work away from drones?
Voices for Creative Nonviolence has been privileged to learn through being alongside people in war zones in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Bahrain, that where you stand determines what you see. So we try our best not to preach nonviolence to people in other countries that are being afflicted by United States warfare. We believe nonviolence can change the world, and we don't believe war is inevitable. But essentially, we find our role maybe most appropriate to be that of trying to amplify the voices of people who have nowhere to turn and nowhere to hide, and help people anywhere else in the world get a better sense for the consequences, the cost of our wars. And we recognize also that there's a war going on in this country. You know, when I grew up, there was a war on poverty. It was very altruistic in a sense that we were going to eradicate poverty in the United States, and I think it's been metamorphosed into something like a war against the poor. Just recently, the New York Times published a series about children, homeless children, just in New York alone, 20,000 children without homes. And here are kids in Afghanistan working as street vendors because their homeless parents sent them out. 600,000 children working, many of them as street vendors, and they've been displaced by war. The war displaces 400 people every single day. People just pick up their belongings and run in panic and in fear. So our hope is that when people are thinking about security for their children, for themselves, for their future, that maybe voices could jostle their comfortable sensibilities and say, you know, really, the greatest terror we all face is what we're doing to our environment, to our air, to our ground, to our water. We need all hands on deck. We need the scientists. We need the ingenuity, the smarts, really, of so many people that got gobbled up by our killing machine.
Thank you, Kathy Kelly.
Thank you very much, John.
Hi, I'm Vermin Supreme, and whenever I'm watching some sort of moving images on a screen, it's indie media for sure.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. The controversial oil extraction process known as fracking has drawn opposition from citizens and environmentalists, some of whom staged a creative protest outside the House of Illinois' Governor Pat Quinn. We'll see more about that in this segment.
So we elves are here today to deliver a special holiday present for Governor Quinn. Santa has closely been watching how the threat of hydraulic fracturing or fracking has become closer and closer to a reality in Illinois. He has watched with great concern as the corporations, the state and big green groups have tried to regulate something as dangerous and unmanageable as fracking. Our home, the North Pole, is now damaged due to climate change. We stand here in solidarity with other beings that have suffered and are going to suffer if we keep pumping greenhouse gases like the methane that comes from fracking into our atmosphere. We elves have been impacted, as have people that have experienced Hurricane Sandy, Typhoon Haiyan, and the extreme drought in southern Illinois. We are at a critical juncture with regards to our climate, and bringing in a destructive fossil fuel industry is moving us in the wrong direction. Fracking puts corporate interests above the health and well-being of people and ecosystems, and that is naughty. Santa also thinks that if those people that are making the decisions had to live near fracking, they would never even consider such a threat. Therefore, this year, Santa is giving Governor Quinn a frack rig. So you can see how it feels, Governor Quinn, to have a frack rig in your front yard.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. Members of the online activist group, Anonymous, organized an action feeding the homeless. Here's a look.
You know, Santa doesn't have, enough helpers to help those who don't have houses. So Santa sends us out, every year to help those who don't have houses.
Operation Safe Winter was an anonymous initiative to help bring warm clothes, coats, blankets, socks and shoes, and packaged ready-to-eat food to the homeless in Chicago. Anonymous volunteers met at the Jewel Osco parking lot at 1224 South Wabash at 12 o'clock noon on Sunday, December 22nd, and gave warm clothes, winter gear, and ready-to-eat packaged food to help them survive the cold. Many of the items were then donated to the Pacific Garden Mission, which provides 24-hour services and shelter to the homeless in Chicago.
In the past, a frontal lobotomy was a care for being crazy. Today, we have aspartame. It's less invasive, Trust me.
Greetings, and welcome to another ILNorml video nugget. My name is Dan Lin, and in 2014 we have a new medical cannabis law here in Illinois. The state of Illinois has launched the official website for the Medical Cannabis Pilot Program Act. That website is mcpp.illinois.gov, and patients can go to that website for information about the new medical cannabis program. People that are interested in getting involved in the business side of it can also go to that website for information.
Join us January 29th in Springfield, Illinois at our state capitol building from 9 to 5 p.m. where we meet with lawmakers. We have a table set up. You can talk to your lawmakers. It's important to get face-to-face with the people who make the laws that affect our lives every day. We're also going to have additional lobby days every month for as long as the legislative session.
We also hold regular meetings throughout the state, including our monthly meetings in Chicago on the first Wednesday of every month, in addition to our new meetings that we're starting in Springfield on the second Saturday of every month, which will be held at the Springfield Public Library. We're looking to get our Springfield group more active this year so that we can have a better grassroots, on-the-ground effort working at the Capitol on a regular basis, and we hope you can join us. And we're always looking to have other meetings set up throughout the state to expand our reach, so please contact us at get.info@ILNorml.org if you're interested in helping to set up an ILNorml meeting in your area.
Another event that we will be holding in Springfield on Saturday, February 1st, will be a medical cannabis patient and business seminars. The medical cannabis patient seminar is free and open to the public, and we will provide information for people that are looking to get involved as a patient in the new medical cannabis program. We will also have information for caregivers in the patient seminar. There will be a separate seminar that requires a registration for people that are looking to get involved in the industry of growing and selling medical cannabis in the state of Illinois. If you would like more information on the business and patient seminars, please visit our website, ILNorml.org.
Also, check out our social media presence on Facebook, ILNorml, where we post helpful information about the changing laws and more opportunities for you to get involved as an activist here in Illinois.
2014 is a big year in Illinois in cannabis policy reform. We're hoping the rollout of our new medical cannabis program goes well. We want to do everything we can to promote patients, their access, and their interests in getting this medicine as easily and safely as possible. So please help join us. We'll be launching our spring membership drive soon. So if you'd like more information, check out our website and stay tuned as we work to try and rally support to end cannabis prohibition in Illinois.